As the journalist presses J.D. Vance with sharp questions about his past on live TV, he feels an unsettling grip on the situation. In a shocking turn, everything changes in an instant. Before we plunge into the action, share in the comments where you're tuning in from. Imagine this: the studio lights ignite, illuminating one of America's most captivating talk shows. The air is electric as J.D. Vance, our newly inaugurated vice president, strides onto the set. Fresh from taking his oath, Vance stands tall, radiating an unshakable confidence. A man with secrets buried deep and a fierce determination to unveil his true potential. But Anderson Cooper, the host of the show, has a different agenda. Anderson, with his razor-sharp wit and bold ideals, has been honing his skills for this pivotal moment. Though his producer vowed a respectful dialogue on the new administration, the spark in Anderson's eyes hints at a hidden agenda. Vance settles into his seat, the familiar pre-interview niceties hurried and devoid of warmth. Anderson's smile is a mask, his eyes betraying a deeper turmoil, while the production team buzzes with an unsettling tension. Vance, tapping into his Marine Corps instincts, feels the tension of an impending ambush. Every instinct screams that Anderson's questions are fraught with perilous traps. A smile accompanies the first question, but Vance can't ignore the tension in Anderson's white-knuckled grip on the interview cards. "Mr. Vice President," Anderson begins, his voice dripping with insincerity. "Witness the astonishing transformation from fierce critic to loyal ally, stepping into the role of second-in-command." Vance offers a calculated smile, his eyes shimmering with the weight of hard-won wisdom. "You know, Marcus, that's the ideal starting point," he declares, "for it touches on something far greater than mere politics. It reveals the profound potential for growth and understanding within America." The audience gasps, captivated by Vance's unexpected calmness in the face of challenge. Anderson shifts in his chair, the sharpness of his rehearsed follow-up fading into uncertainty. "Growth and understanding," Anderson sneers, his voice dripping with contempt. "Is that truly what we're calling it now? Some may claim it's merely a matter of political convenience." "You see, Marcus," Vance replies, his voice unwavering, "in America, we hold dear the tradition of shifting our perspectives when faced with fresh truths. Years ago I criticized the president, blinded by a narrow perspective. Then, everything changed when I witnessed something extraordinary. His policies started to uplift the forgotten Americans I chronicled in my book." In an instant, Anderson's face hardens, a flicker of tension passing through him. Vance presses on, his eyes locked in a fierce, unwavering stare. "Marcus, tell me, have you ever had a moment that made you rethink something crucial? Have you ever examined the evidence and felt the weight of your initial judgment crumble?" Anderson's pause stretches, heavy with unspoken tension. "Mr. Vice President, this is about your changes, not mine." With a sharp snap, he shuffles his cards, anticipation crackling in the air as he prepares for his next strike. "As we delve into transformations," Anderson presses on, "let's turn our attention to your recent address at the National Prayer Breakfast. You mentioned the influence of divine guidance on decisions made in government. Isn't that a perilous blend of church and state?" The air thickens with anticipation. Anderson has stepped onto hallowed ground, and the fire in Vance's gaze shows he has long awaited this moment. "Heed the call, Marcus." Vance leans in, his voice thick with determination. "I stated that our founding fathers grasped the crucial role of moral guidance in leadership. They feared not faith, but the grip of tyranny." A wave of amen surges through the crowd. Anderson's jaw tightens, a storm brewing within. Yet, in our vibrant world, he starts to speak, only to be abruptly silenced as Vance lifts his hand. This thought must be completed. Its significance cannot be overlooked. Vance's tone cuts through the air, respectful but unyielding. I raised my hand, the Bible beneath my palm, echoing the solemn vow taken by leaders before me, a moment steeped in history. Not to create a state religion, but to affirm that our rights are bestowed by God, not just granted by government. Anderson's eyes flicker to his producer, who stands on the edge, a hawk ready to swoop. Then Vance adds, his voice laced with a haunting introspection. Have you ever thought about this, Marcus? As a Marine, our chaplain's presence was unquestioned, a silent pillar amidst the chaos. And with that, the debate intensifies. A sudden confrontation of beliefs that compels the audience to reflect on the core issues and the essence of growth, understanding, and timeless wisdom. No one dared to voice discontent when we bowed our heads before missions. In those pivotal moments, even the doubters sensed a profound truth that transcended mere politics. Anderson's face burned with intensity. Now, let's delve into your connection with President Trump and your bold assertion that he is God's chosen instrument for America's revival. Isn't that a touch over the top? What I find extreme, Vance replied, his voice steady, is how some in the media focus more on a leader's prayers than on policies that devastate American families. He halted, allowing his words to linger in the stillness of the studio. Since you mentioned President Trump, let's focus on outcomes, not just words. Let's dive into the truth of our community's pulse since the inauguration. The studio plunged into an eerie silence. Anderson's usual barrage of interruptions halted, overshadowed by Vance's calm demeanor and deliberate replies. Anderson's calm facade shattered. Mr. Vice President, let's delve into your past. From humble beginnings to the towering halls of power, your journey is nothing short of remarkable. Some would argue you've lost sight of your origins. Fascinating, Marcus, Vance shot back, his voice steady. In my world, we measure a person by their true character, not by their ability to conform to the whims of the Washington elite. Who is the character? Anderson let out a derisive laugh. Is this truly what you call a total turnaround on Trump? Once your words burned with fervor against him. Indeed, I did. Do you know what truly demands strength? Owning your mistakes, fiercely defending your beliefs, even as others distort them into something unrecognizable. A hushed agreement swept through the audience. Anderson yanked at his collar, his voice dripping with disdain. Mr. Vice President, you've crafted your image as the champion of the working class. Yet here you stand, clad in an expensive suit, defending a billionaire. Can't you feel the twist of fate? The air grew cold, tension thickening as audience members squirmed, yet Vance stood resolute, his face a mask of calm. A faint smile flickered at the edges of his lips. Do you know what I see, Marcus? There stands a man convinced that a costly suit can redefine his very essence. Listen closely. The values I learned from my grandmother in Middletown, Ohio, remain steadfast, untouched by zip codes or job titles. Anderson's gaze sharpened. Are you really claiming your transformation is free from political ambition? Are we really expected to overlook your past criticisms? So we are to accept that you are now President Trump's new, he paused, puppet? The word shattered the silence, a gauntlet thrown, leaving the audience gasping in shock. Vance's reply struck like a lightning bolt, sharp and calculated. Ah, Marcus, that term puppet speaks volumes about you, not me. His voice, steady but sharp as a blade, pressed on. In your world, perhaps unwavering loyalty to someone you admire is a subject of ridicule, but let me share the lesson I learned as a Marine. He leaned in, tension crackling in the air. In the heat of battle, true character reveals itself through actions, not the whispers of the media. I've witnessed President Trump's true character, not the distorted image you and your colleagues have crafted. Thunderous applause filled the air. Anderson attempted to speak, but Vance forged ahead, relentless. You label it puppet mastery. I witness true leadership, and I know it when I see it. Absolutely. I stand proud to serve beside President Trump. Anderson's voice oozed with biting sarcasm. A mind like yours can't ignore the irony of backing someone you once condemned. There you go again, Marcus, Vance shot back, his voice steady yet charged. Your obsession with contradictions blinds you to the real issue at hand. It's a stark irony to dismiss my own truths just to satisfy critics like you." His words ignited a storm of applause. Anderson shot a look at his producer, who waved his arms in a frenzy from the sidelines. Yet Vance remained undeterred. "Ah, my intellectual background," he said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "It reveals that true wisdom isn't about uncovering contradictions. It's about the courage to learn and evolve." "Why is there silence on the blatant intellectual dishonesty in your portrayal of this administration?" Anderson Cooper's voice sliced through the air, heavy with accusation. "What about my coverage?" He fired a retort. "We're here to discuss it," J.D. Vance cut in, his voice steady. "Because just last week you dedicated an entire segment to questioning my faith, implying it was merely convenient election season Christianity." Anderson's face flushed with heat. I was just about to speak, but Vance leaned in, silencing him abruptly. "What timing are you referring to?" "I've been part of this church long before I stepped into the political arena, or maybe you want to challenge my grandmother's unwavering faith as well. The woman who instilled in me the sacred ritual of prayer before each meal, even in times of scarcity." A woman in the front row nodded with fervor, her eyes locked onto him. "Let me be clear, Marcus." Vance's voice rang out, filled with unwavering strength and undeniable dignity. "Question my politics if you dare. Disagree with my choices if you must, but when you imply my faith is merely a political tool, you cross a line. This isn't just an attack on me, it's a deeper betrayal. You're waging war on every American who cherishes their faith." Anderson's eyes darted to his notes, a desperate quest for refuge. "We need to discuss your recent statements," he pressed. "Yes, let's dive into statements," Vance replied, his tone sharp and decisive. "Your comment last month, that anyone who champions traditional values is, and I quote, living in the past, struck a nerve. Marcus, I must ask, do you truly believe that the millions of Americans flocking to church every Sunday, holding tight to family values, and cherishing their country are merely relics of a bygone era?" A heavy hush enveloped the studio as Anderson's meticulously built facade started to shatter. He stumbled through his papers, chaos unfolding in his hands. "Mr. Vice President, you're twisting this interview," he stammered. "No, Marcus," Vance declared, his voice unwavering. "I need to address the disdain you and your colleagues appear to hold for everyday Americans. You brought me here, hoping to humiliate me for my beliefs, my history, and my loyalty to the president, but let's confront the real issue that haunts you." Silence enveloped the studio, all gazes locked onto him. "It irks you," Vance pressed on, "that someone like me, hailing from my background, can defy your perspective. Your discomfort is palpable. The fact that I can be educated at Yale Law School while upholding traditional values gnaws at you, but what truly unsettles you is my ability to see through your facade." Anderson fought to seize control once more. "Your accusations cut deep," and for the first time Vance's expression turned to stone. "These aren't mere accusations, Marcus. They're piercing observations. Remember the way you rolled your eyes at the mention of prayer, or how you sneered at my hometown calling it Trump country on your show last week?" His rebuke struck like lightning, plunging the audience into a breathless hush. "This isn't about politics," Vance declared, his voice steady yet intense. "Respect is everything. Honor the faith, cherish the traditions, and recognize the countless Americans who stand proud, loving their country and supporting their president without seeking your validation." Anderson's face went pale as he caught his producer's gaze, a blend of worry and intrigue etched across their features. The interview had spiraled wildly off Anderson's carefully laid trap. Anderson glanced at his watch, a sense of urgency in his voice. "Perhaps we should move on. I've seen you doing that ever since we began our conversation about faith and values," Vance remarked, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "This is a perilous path for you, Marcus." A ripple of laughter erupted from the crowd as Anderson's unease became unmistakably evident. "For someone who boasts about hard-hitting journalism," Vance shot back, "you seem all too quick to dodge the topic when the conversation turns against you." Anderson launched a final desperate strike. "Is this the same deflection you employed when you went from criticizing Trump to singing his praises?" "There you go again, Marcus," Vance shot back, his voice steady yet charged. "You're relentless in your pursuit of that, aren't you? May I pose a question to you? Have you ever completely shifted your perception of someone once you truly got to know them, after witnessing their true nature rather than trusting the stories spun by the media?" An elderly woman in the crowd shouted. "Tell him, Mr. Vice President!" "Do you want to hear the truth, Marcus?" Vance's voice resonated with unwavering conviction. "What matters isn't my past critiques or where I stand now. It's a fear that grips you and your team. It's astonishing how one can forge their own path, shift perspectives through lived experiences, and hold steadfast against the unyielding barrage of media scrutiny." Anderson's brow glistened with sweat. "Mr. Vice President, you're distorting my meaning." And with that, the debate teetered on the edge of uncertainty. The truth exposed, raw and undeniable. "No, Marcus, I'm merely reflecting the truth," Vance cut in, his voice steady, "and I could sense your discomfort with the truth laid bare. A journalist arrived with the intent to humiliate me, yet he only unveiled his own biases. He faced the audience, his gaze piercing through the crowd. What Marcus fails to grasp is that real integrity lies not in an unyielding stance, but in the courage to evolve. It takes guts to own your mistakes, especially with predators lurking, ready to strike." The audience roared with applause, a thunderous wave of approval that even had the production crew nodding in fervent agreement. "When I first encountered President Trump, a choice lay before me," Vance declared, his voice resonating with quiet power. "I could have held tight to my biases, or I could have seen him for who he truly is, defined by his actions and his unwavering love for this country. I embraced truth, casting aside pride. Perhaps your network should consider this choice too." Anderson's eyes darted to his producer, who cut through the tension with a swift, decisive gesture across his throat, a clear command to end it now. "And do you know what else, Marcus? The American people have reached their breaking point. They've had enough of the scorn for their beliefs, the ridicule for their principles, and above all, the frustration with journalists who believe their role is to dictate thoughts rather than unveil the truth." In a heartbeat, the whole studio audience erupted, rising to their feet. Anderson's words were swallowed by a storm of applause, his meticulously planned ambush collapsing in a breathtaking twist. Anderson swallowed hard, his spirit shattered. "Time is slipping away," he whispered, a sense of urgency in his voice. "Yes, I believe we are," Vance replied, standing abruptly from his chair. "Before I leave, there's one final message for the American people watching from home." He faced the camera head-on, his expression fierce and unwavering. "What you saw today transcends a single interview or the efforts of journalists to undermine me. It's about something far more significant. It's a battle of unwavering beliefs. They believed they could break me with their scorn for my faith. They believed they could ridicule my unwavering support for President Trump. They believed they could compel me to apologize for my unwavering faith in traditional values. But this is what they failed to grasp. These are not just political stances. These are the principles that forged America, the values that carried us through adversity, and the truths that will lead us into the future." Vance adjusted his tie, standing tall, ready for what lay ahead. "To every American who has faced scorn for their faith, derision for their values, or been deemed on the wrong side of history, hold your ground. At the end of the day, character transcends the need for critics' approval. It's a battle for your convictions." As Vance strode off the set, the applause erupted, a thunderous wave that rattled the very walls of the studio. Anderson sat in shocked silence, his meticulously crafted trap shattered by a force of unyielding conviction and serene power. And that reveals a singular truth. In the face of arrogance, stand tall. Let dignity be your shield. When confronted with bias, wield truth as your weapon. If this tale of unwavering conviction resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Faith, family, and freedom, these are not mere words, they are the essence of our existence. They are the bedrock of all we cherish. May divine grace shine upon you, and may America thrive in its glory.